I'm Christa Hill.
And I'm Renee Matzella.
And we are the founders of Tacit Edge, a tech education company dedicated to shifting the demographics of women and visible minorities graduating into product management at top companies around the world.
And this is our podcast, Product for Humans, where we explore the human side of product management. We'll answer all your burning questions like, what is product management? What is a product? How do you get started? And why do you belong in product management? That's right, because you belong. We hope you enjoy the show. All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody, on LinkedIn. Hey, Mónica. Hey, Rosheen. We're so glad we could have you both with us and everybody all in line here. So this is going to work like our typical Ask Me Anythings, except you're going to be asking us some of our amazing graduates questions about their journey into tech. So we've got some questions prepared, but please also start submitting your questions as well. That's what we're here to do. We are here to answer questions for folks who are interested in pivoting into tech, or maybe you're new in product or interested in pivoting into product. These two have done the pivots without technical backgrounds and used their non-technical backgrounds to their advantage. So if that sounds like you, these two are the best folks we could think of to give advice and tell us about their journeys. So yeah, start submitting a question, saying hi. If you're online too, maybe say where you're calling in from. We love seeing folks saying hi. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask Mônica first to just introduce yourself and tell us what interested you about tech. And then I'll ask Rosheen to do the same.
Yeah. So I'm Mônica. I'm a tech recruiter. Honestly, I think tech was an industry that seemed really consistently interesting in the sense that I would be quite often challenged and there would be always learning to be had. And that's really what enticed me. Also, potential for good salaries was something that really enticed me. And the potential for flexibility as well for remote or hybrid work, because I come from a type of job that it was full-time on site. There was no way it would ever be any other way ever. That all three of those aspects were really important to me.
Thank you, Mônica. Welcome. Rosheen, please, introduce yourself and tell us what got you interested in tech.
Yeah, thank you, Christa, Renee, for having me. So what got me really interested in tech? So first of all, my name is Rosheen, as you can see on the screen. And I honestly didn't think tech was possible for me. And that is because I had no background, no education in tech. And what changed that perspective for me was I was in an employment bridging workshop. I entered Canada about 3 years ago. And during that workshop, we had a demo by Sage. And Sage talked about the bootcamp that they had for product management. And product management was it is a tech role, but it has you need so many skills that are so non-tech that I was like, I've always wanted to get into tech, but I just never thought it was possible. Now it feels like it's possible and it's in reach. Plus, tech has a lot of innovation going on. I feel like it's ever changing. There's so much growth and so much learning to do. So I think that's what really intrigued me towards moving towards tech and moving towards product specifically.
Amazing. So product specifically. And I'm curious too, what about products was really enticing to you, Mônica?
My story is funny, to be honest. And I don't know if either of you actually know, but I learned that I was in a product course the first day of the course. Yes, because I thought I was in a project management course and I didn't know the difference. And I learned it on the first day. And it was way better than project management. And I fell in love with it way better. So I'm very happy that I made that silly mistake. So it was accidental.
Oh my God. You have not told us that before. I'm so glad that you made that mistake, Mônica.
Me too.
Oh my goodness. Can you tell us a little bit like about your background and that like journey to
Yeah.
discovering?
So my previous career, I was a gymnastics coach. I've done it for coaching for 15 years, gymnastics specifically for about 6. And it took me, I was in the discovery phase of my next career for about 3 to 5 years, I'd say, taking multiple courses. So I took courses in data science, data analytics. I did take many courses in project management. I started doing some project management within the gymnastics environment in my company because I had a really great boss who understood that I had captive. I was not interested in staying as a coach anymore. So she was trying to see it fit for me there. And then life brought me to Calgary and I had to quit that job. And I was just searching and I was looking for how am I going to make this move? I need to make this move. I can't live in this coaching life anymore. Found a course that I thought was project management and it really resonated with me. Took the leap because financially it was a pretty financial leap to take it and fell in love with it and really found myself because of Christa and Renee and the support that the community really brought. And Sate also with their support with resumes and interview skills and whatnot, and found a role. So it's been a crazy journey.
Oh my gosh, that journey is incredible. From coaching gymnastics to fast forward working in tech.
Yeah.
Incredible. Hey, Rosheen, can you tell us a little bit more about your background as well, what you did before you became a product person?
Yeah, sure. So I started off with an MBA in finance, got into a finance role, very quickly realized it wasn't where I wanted to be. It's a great role for some people, but for me, it just wasn't. I wanted to be in a space where I was solving problems and being collaborative. And so I found a place in project management, but this was non-tech project management. So I worked with a lot of nonprofits and I worked with corporate social responsibility departments within different organizations to build projects for them. And that kind of segued into me entering Canada and then taking that employment bridging workshop and figuring out when I heard that demo from Sate, I was like, that sounds like things I've been doing before, but it just sounds a lot more interesting and it gives me that space in tech, which I wanted. So I think that was I never, and this is something that I want to tell, I like telling everyone, is it's not impossible to find your space very later on in life. I always did not feel at home wherever I was, not because I didn't like where I was working, but because I just felt like what I was doing wasn't exactly what I was meant to be. And it takes time for some people. So I did a lot of experimentation with my career, with my studies. And just the past year, I felt at home. And that's what gave me an idea of this is where I want to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm meant to be. So that's how I landed at product management, and that background that came with it just gave me all the experiences I needed to succeed here.
That is so incredible. I think that sense of belonging very much is in tune with the philosophy that Renee and I bring to our education, because we do firmly believe that you can find your home and a sense of belonging in the career that you're meant to be in. And it doesn't, these arbitrary barriers that we've put in place, like not enough Canadian experience, not technical enough, all of these things we're having to unlearn as an industry together. And I think your story really is representative of that. And I think it's so incredibly special. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can we unpack a little bit about your journey finding the job, right? There's the course and the prep that we take you through in the course, 2 iterations of design thinking and having your own idea and then working with a cross-functional team. Can you walk us through what it was like coming out of the cocoon of the SATE program and then out into the real world, and what you think were the biggest takeaways that you had very early on that you'd like to share?
Do you want me to start, Christa?
Sure. Yeah. Whoever wants to go first.
I think for me, it was basically when we went into the course and we did everything, it was very evident that everyone within that course had the right skill sets. including myself, we could be successful in product roles. And you both and Oliver gave us that understanding and that capability to realize that we were worth those product roles. When I came out of that course, I had a project on hand. I had done product work within that project. I had the frameworks, I had the understanding, I had the knowledge. But what I didn't have was the confidence that the employers needed in me. And that's the thing I know that you're working to change, is that these people, once they're through this boot camp, they have all the right skills and they have the credentials now. You can hire them. But there's a barrier there that comes from employers specifically. And it's like, you don't have enough technical experience. You don't have enough experience working with these specific kind of products. But we didn't have experience working with the products that we worked with when we were doing that capstone project. And we did amazingly well. You know how bad our project went in between. Like, we lost a client and we started all over again after midway. So we were literally lost midway and then we started all over again and we did great. That understanding doesn't exist within a lot of employers right now. So my main takeaway was, let's change that mindset, shift that mindset. So even now that I'm on the inside, and that's something that I want to share, is like, I finally have landed my first product role. I have been working on product projects before, but this is my first product role. So this I'm extremely excited about. The fact that I believed in myself and persevered, even with the fact, sometimes I was moving around spaces and networking and feeling like, I'm an imposter here. Do I even belong? You have those moments. You have those moments where you're like, if no one believes in me, how do I believe in myself? But you need to specifically believing in yourself and talking to people like you, Renee, and you, Christa. Every time I met you and I met people that around in my network, they're like, you're such a natural product manager. It just takes one yes. So I think my takeaway from this entire process is, don't stop working towards it, persevere, and don't lose that confidence in yourself. It honestly just takes that one yes.
That is so amazing. And of course, we are so proud of you. I know the journey hasn't been easy. There's been lots of ups and downs, but you always stuck with it. And perseverance, I believe, is something that is like just part of your brand as a human, which is incredible. Mônica, I'm sure you've got your own version of this to share. If you want to take us through post the coming out of our course, what has it been like? What would you want people to know?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Chris and Ray talk about consistently is pull your experience from prior industries and figure out how that relates to what you're looking into. And obviously, my search into tech has been through very iteration of a lot of discovery of figuring out where I want to fit in. And I did find myself a product, but ended up landing a job as a tech recruiter. I opened myself up to anything that came to me. And I landed my job, I think it's not the week that we finished the course, a week after or something like that. It was fairly timeline. It was within that. And I started the interview process during the course as well. And I got the interview because of the course as well. And it was because of something that I would have never expected it to be a reason someone wanting to talk to me. And that's one thing that I tell candidates consistently actually is figure it out as your profile and whatever comes from your background can make you an edgy, like a candidate that has an edge compared to others. And in my situation, what was that I'm Brazilian. And funnily enough, that's one main reason that I stood out for the company, because they were looking for someone that had never done recruiting before with a specific type of personality. And ideally, if possible, someone that spoke Portuguese, because they hire a lot of Brazilians. And Sarah, who was one of the people at Sage that supports people with their resume and interview skills, she was the one helping me. She had that contact that asked her that. And she's like, Mônica has that personality. I think she would be a perfect fit. She's not really looking for a recruiting position, but I'm going to push her to do it. And she speaks Portuguese. Like, how on earth did this fall onto your lap? And I went to the interview. Really, my goal with the interview was to just get interview experience because I know that it's a skill you learn, you get better as you do it. But as I'm learning, as I'm doing recruiting is a sales position. And my current supervisor is a really good salesman because he sold me on the job. And here I am a year and a half later, feeling quite fulfilled, quite challenged, and excited about what's next.
Oh, I love that, Mónica. Like the being open to what can come is such an important part of the journey. What I'm curious for both of you, like how did being open and trying new things, I think even in career pathways, it's called like planned happenstance, where you get out, you put yourself out there and you roll with the punches and see opportunities maybe where others don't. How did that play a role in your journey?
I think that's how I live my life, to be honest. I like to live in the unknown and I like to live in those challenges. It's how I fill my cup. It's one of the reasons why I end up moving every 2 years because I like the challenge of being in a new space that I know no one and nothing about. And I'm getting to a point in my life that I do want to settle down for a little longer. Calgary feels like home right now. So I'm trying to push that urge out and figure out how to live in that space in the same city. But I find that true growth and true learning and only comes from a space of uncomfortability and a space of the unknown. So to me, without it, I wouldn't be happy. So it does play a role in my professional and personal life. So that's just how
For me, I think it was just saying yes to opportunities that came my way. The only thing that I was very mindful of was that the opportunities that I was saying yes to, no matter what they were in line with where I wanted to head with my career. Right? So I just didn't want to go and do just anything just to get that Canadian experience. I didn't want that. I wanted a specific kind of experience. And while I wasn't getting product roles, I was getting a lot of interviews, and I have a tidbit to share about the interviews as well later on. But what I wasn't getting was product roles. I was getting through to the final interviews. I wasn't getting product roles. But the step that I took into tech wasn't in a product role. It was a completely different role, but I was working on a digital product. So I felt it took me in the right direction, and I took that opportunity because I felt like at a later point, I could leverage that opportunity and move into prep because now I would have that ability to say I worked with a digital, right? And I've worked very closely with it, even with the specifics of it, the functionalities of it, the features of it. So I think that's where I said yes to that opportunity, and it opened a lot of doors for me, even though that there were some issues that happened with it later on, but it opened so many doors for me. I felt like it was just a way for me to segue into this product role that I have. Another thing that I said yes to was consultancy. So I just started looking for projects that I would be able to do, whether they were on a voluntary basis or they paid me for it. I started doing consultancy. And in fact, my new role is within consultancy as well. So I leveraged that part of my skill set towards the role that I was applying to. And I think Mônica said this, that you need to leverage what you've gotten previously and what you've done previously and the skills that you have towards getting into that right kind of role for yourself. Yeah. So, and I think you end up where you're supposed to end up. I may not have ended up in product, but I may have ended up at a place where I was supposed to be. But I think the fact that I ended up in product and the fact that I persevered for so long is because I really did want to be here and I have a space in this place.
That is so incredible. And you brought up something that's really unique in our industry that is emerging, which is that concept of, we used to use the word consulting, that is now being morphed and has been repackaged as fractional work. We see a massive opportunity with folks coming in looking for, especially getting into smaller organizations that wouldn't necessarily be able to afford a full-time product manager, but can absolutely derive the benefits of having that person in the mix sooner rather than later to prevent failure during scale up. So I love this concept of on the way to finding the things, what other opportunities can you create for yourself through a consultancy model or through the doors that are opening through how to market yourself as a fractional product person in industry. If you look at the volume of startups and scale-ups that we have in this province, that can't be ignored as an untapped opportunity for a lot of folks that are working on their pivots. Wasn't sure if anybody had any other thoughts on that.
Oh, I think it just ties, like we're seeing a lot of shift in industry where folks are opening up to different types of work and different types of placement. And Rosheen, I'm so glad you brought up earlier too, like the changes that need to happen within industry as well, recognizing that it doesn't, like, fractional is just as good as full time. And also folks who have gone through education have demonstrated that they can do the job. They can do the job. PSA to employers. We still hear that, oh, not technical enough, not enough Canadian experience. No, we've proven, you two have proven along with other folks in the program that your transferable skills, you bring that to product management and it makes you better and stronger, and you can learn and succeed in this role in 3 months because of your transferable skills. I'm curious, like, what were some of those skills that you really identified helped you succeed in your new roles where you belong today?
I think for me, it was collaboration. So I felt like I would do well in a place where I would be collaborating, because I feel like my best ideas come when I'm talking to other people. So I think it was just the fact that product management is such a collaborative role. You're working with so many different departments and you're working with so many different people that it just has, you have to have that element of collaborative skills within you. And I had that. I also wanted a space because I mentioned that I worked in nonprofits before. So I always felt like I was solving some sort of problem. It felt good to solve those problems. Like I always wanted to be in a place where I would solve multiple problems and just have those things going for me. And so I felt, again, product management kind of brought that side of me out. And I wanted all of that to play into the empathy part of me. I want to help make people's lives better. And if I can help organizations or clients or users and make their help them build a product that makes their life better or like someone else's life better, I would definitely be interested in that. So that's one of these are the key things that kind of brought me towards product management. And these are the key things that kind of stood out to me when Sarah the demo was given by Sarah that Mónica has already mentioned. So when Sarah was talking about it, everything would just felt like it was clicking. And there were other people in the course with me. No one else joined. So it just feels like I was the right fit for it because I was that kind of person that they were looking for the specific role. And everything just kept clicking every time she was saying something.
For me, my core as a person is really helping people achieve goals. And in my coaching career, it was figuring out this person wants to do a flip and they can't figure out how to do their front flip. Is the core of the problem because maybe mechanical, where they're starting their jump with leaning forwards instead of jumping up? Or is it a strength issue? Or is it a mental issue? And then once I figured out what the core of the problem is, draw up how are we going to achieve it and help them achieve. That is the core of product management, is truly figuring out what what is the true problem that we're trying to fix, create a path to fixing it, and then getting to that end goal. And that is also recruiting, but with a slight twist to it, where I'm both trying to help the company figure out what are their true problems that they're trying to fix, that they don't have enough people, and what is the perfect candidate for that? How am I going to find them? Then go and find candidates where I'm also trying to see, is this company their fit? What is your ultimate goal with your career? So I'm like, my core is still finding the problem, helping you figure out how to get to that solution. So it's transferable, in my opinion, to any profession probably.
So that is so true. As people, we have the problem that we're setting out to solve is finding your fit in a career and in an organization, which is a pretty big problem set that's multi-layered, which is very similar to product. It's so funny. I often joke that like I run my life with product management frameworks. And if you know me and how I operate, you know how like real that is. It's so applicable. So I want to spin us back to the course experience just for a little bit, because we watch folks have some really transformative experiences for themselves personally as humans over the trajectory of that 12 weeks that we get that focused time with them. Do you have a story that you can share that was like your either absolute biggest imposter syndrome moment, that was a moment where you unlocked a little bit of that and moved forward, or something else that happened that was just as profound for you while you were with us?
I think my personality, I don't really have imposter syndrome. I believe I can do anything. Just as long as I put my mind to it. But the course to me, pretty early on, and I think it was day one actually, I really felt a strong connection to the community that you are building and the type of support. And I don't know if you guys remember, but day one I cried. And I think that also trickled into the entire course being very like true to everybody's story. And I'm not attributing it all to me, obviously, but I do think like someone already showing up so quickly, so raw in the course showed people that that's okay, because everybody showed a lot of support. And very specifically, Christa reached out to me immediately with like how she could support me. And it was a financial struggle. And through that, we were able to, because there's funding available through the course, and we were able to help me ease a little bit of that stress. And so to me, it was the community. It was just like, oh, who are these people? And I've never had people that were truly wanting to help and not just, here's the course, because I've taken many courses, right? And I've paid for so many things. Just here's the information. Now you know how to analyze data, go out there and do it. So to me, it was really the community that's from day one. It like, okay, these are my people.
For me, I think it was just the whole course. And I would preface this by saying throughout the course, I never felt imposter syndrome. That came later after a couple of rejections. And even then, the community and Christa, Renee, Oliver, all of you were the people that kind of always pulled me out of it, where you can do this. So the reason I didn't feel it in the course is because the wording that you were using, the verbiage and the way you were talking to us and how the community and the network just felt like the whole cohort was so inclusive and very friendly and very helpful. I never felt that imposter syndrome while I was doing the boot. What I really loved about the boot camp, because Mônica has gone through one big element of it, and I think that was the core thing for me as well. I wouldn't dive too much into it as well. But the fact that you gave us the right tools to succeed. And that not only came from the frameworks that you presented us, but the capstone project. That was a huge pivotal moment for me, especially when the client fell through and we had 3 weeks. There were moments where you said to us that it's okay if you can't complete it, but we know you can. You had that confidence in us. And we picked ourselves up and we were like, okay, we can do this. And we did that sprint of 3 weeks and we completed something that was at least at the same level of what everyone else had done in those 6 weeks. And we did it in half the time. That is because you had given us the right tools and you had given us the confidence. So I feel like, as Mônica said again, she's elaborated it so well that I don't need to get into it too much, is not only are you giving us the right information when we're in the course, it's the support that you provide us that really pushed us towards the success that we had later on.
I feel like we can't take all the credit, though. We just create an environment to empower you. This is the incredible thing. And I know Renee's sitting here thinking the exact same thing. We didn't do anything. It was all you, right? You had that in you the whole time. We just created an environment for you to connect with it and own it and lean into it. And that's it. That's all. Because we come from a very coaching mindset, which we believe that the person who owns the problem also owns and knows the path forward. And we are just here to guide, right? So either it be frameworks, videos, encouragement, whatever that may be. But I really want you to know from our perspective, every single one of our students, it's all you and what you came to us with. And we just threw jazz hands around it and put it on stage and allowed you to practice who you already were, but just in a different context where it was safe to show us that it wasn't perfect, but it didn't matter because we're all learning. And I think that is really powerful about creating learning experiences, that we didn't want to just build another course that taught a thing, because if that is what the world needed, this wouldn't be a problem in our ecosystem. So we, as product people, really wanted to craft something that speaks to the outcomes that you just described, which makes us incredibly, obviously honored to have been a part of that journey. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I want to cry. But Mônica, I totally remember that first day. And it was what we thought we were witnessing was just a release of relief. And again, when folks have an emotional response to something that's happening, it's because we can see a shift in them and we know something's happening. And that is, again, we're just beyond honored to bear witness to shifts in folks and what they think is possible. So that leads me to my next question. If you think about now your future, how do you think about your future now with the career that you are launching and how you've tracked all the way through with this experience for yourself? What do you envision for your future in product or just in your lives now?
Mônica, you want to take this first?
Sure. First, I do want to say I completely believe that we are the only people that can really spearhead our careers. Like you mentioned, if we hadn't done the work, we wouldn't be where we are. But it takes a village, and you guys have built that village for us. It really is a community thing. And if I didn't do the work, I wouldn't be a success story. But because there's a village around, I can be a success story. Now, when it comes to the future, I don't know. It's just like everything and anything, really. Just excited about anything that comes my way. My current career requires me to do a lot of networking and meeting amazing people. So that's always makes it every day really exciting. And I envision, hopefully my dream would be to retire by earlier age than 65. But still living in that life of like consistently iterating and supporting however it is, just like hopefully financially stable enough that I don't have to do it. I don't know if that's what you were wanting to hear. That's my ambition for the future.
We want honest answers. That's what we want. That sounds ideal. Rosheen?
Yeah. So I think for me, future, of course, moving forward in product is like, of course, something that I'm thinking about. So moving forward with my career in product. But apart from that, I think there's so much that I gained out of these experiences that I want to give back. And not only through giving back through anything else, but basically I want to shift those mindsets that you're also working towards shifting. So now that I'm on the inside, I can change those mindsets. I can hopefully try and create those opportunities for other people like myself who didn't have a technical background, but they have all the skills that it takes to succeed in these roles. So I think that's one of those things that I'm really looking forward to as I move forward in the future. And also just building my network a little bit more. I feel like my network has been, and I think I say this with complete confidence, it's my network. I'm here where I am today because of my network. The fact that I sent resumes out, I don't know about Mônica, but I heard back just very, like, I can probably count them on my fingers how many times I've heard.
None on mine.
A resume out. Work that way with it. I feel like the Canadian space is such. Your network is your strength when you're looking for roles and your ability to take chances. And I think I had like that thing where I took a chance. I got this role because I took a chance again at a role that I had already applied for a year before, almost a couple of months before. And I saw it again and I was like, I'm going to ask them again if they're interested in talking to me once more. And I got it through that. So I think it's changing those mindsets and ensuring that people have that confidence that I sometimes lost. And the fact that you did those things for me where you picked me up again, you were like, Rosheen, you're great. You can do this. I want to be that person for others.
Actually, before you close it off, Christa, because I see you're wanting to talk, but more specifically, like maybe quicker goals, I do want to at some point get to a financial stability that I can actually do what someone did for me. And I actually don't know his name, but he sponsored me for the course. So I would love to do that at some point. I want to write a book at some point. I want to help change legislation. I want to convince a company that keeps talking about I need Canadian experience that they don't. So there's lots in between of the retirement.
I'm in the same mindset. Christa knows. I'm like fire. Financial investors retire early. Yes, and that's where that mindset comes from, right? Oh, we have that freedom to not worry about finances. We can help others. We can advocate. We can give back. And I was like, of course you too. Or like, and you're already giving back so much. And like on that, so we have a question coming in, but before we answer this question, and please, others, please submit your questions now because we'll move to audience questions next. Like what would you say to people who are in this boat of, I want to try product, I want to try getting into tech, I'm not sure. And maybe they're applying and not running into challenges. What would you say to those folks?
What I'll say for the current market, it's a really tough market. So you have to come in with the mindset that it's not going to be an easy ride. And that's okay. Okay. It's okay that you're going to require resilience. You have to have a good support around you. If you don't find this community for yourself, find a community somewhere else, either your family, friends, because there will be a lot of no's, a lot of roadblocks, a lot of times where you'll be, actually, I thought this was the path, but maybe this is the path. And to me, I always say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So being able to live through, it took me 3 to 5 years to do this, right? So it really wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. My path, I do think it took longer for like visa reasons, but yeah, so resilience, come prepared for having to use your resilience, which I know everybody has internally, and talk to people that there's so many of us out here that want to be that support so that hopefully for the next person, this process isn't as strenuous as it was. I'm here fighting the fight, and I'll tell you, I'm actually fighting the fight because yesterday I had a pretty massive fight with someone that disagrees with this and still says that Canadian experience is a requirement. We're here fighting for you, and you'll have to fight for yourself as well, but you got it.
I love how Mônica brought in all of the recruiter stuff in. So I think I'll speak more to product roles then. One, I think the mindset needs to exist that it's never too late to shift. I think that's one of the things that I struggled with initially. And it's just, as I said, I didn't feel at home at some places and in some roles, but now I do. So it's never too late to shift and to experiment. If you feel like you're static in your career or you're not really where you want to be, experiment. Because sometimes those doors will open for you only if you go looking for open doors. If you keep sitting and you're not doing anything, you're not making an effort, those doors will never open for you. And then I think there's no one way to product. That's another thing that I really have understood through this entire process is there is no one way to product. We know someone who was an entrepreneur, moved into product. There was someone who was working in the same company in another role, then moved into product. Someone who was a customer success representative for a technical product and then moved into being a product manager. So there's never one way in. Product is such a role that there is no one way in. So you can always use whatever you have to your advantage. It's all about speaking about it in a way where you're confident about your skills that you've gained and using those as skills that you can utilize as a product manager. But I'd again end that by saying maybe product isn't where you're supposed to be. Mônica ended up with recruitment. But what product management does do is that it has such a vast variety of skills that you gain from this course or from just getting some product knowledge. It can open so many other doors for you, even if they're not product management. So if you're just looking to get into tech product management, the product management bootcamp might just be the place for you to start opening those doors. Because not only does it come with that network, but it comes with those skills that are essential for just so many different roles. So it's okay if you don't end up in product. You might, through this course or through getting that product knowledge, and end up where you're actually supposed to be. So I think that's another important thing to remember.
I just want to say, actually, there's no true way of any career. You really build your own path. And what product really taught me, one of the things that I really took away, it was the design thinking lifestyle. And I don't think that's just work that is everywhere, where you do some research, test it out, didn't work, test it out, do some research, do some changes, and just live consistently in that. And if you apply that to work, to everything, that is truly, there's no one way to anything. And there's also a trend as a recruiter in my brain that I see that our generations and younger will change their entire career at least twice in their lifetime. So what Rosheen said is completely true. Doesn't feel right anymore. Let's find out what's next.
And I want to add that this space, this ecosystem is changing so quickly that if you don't change along with it, you're going to be left behind. So that experimentation will continue throughout your career. You need to be open to that change because you only grow because if you know 100% of your role now, you're not growing there anymore. So you need to get to that next thing where you start growing. And I think that comes with being a lifelong learner for me, is that I want to continue growing and learning new things, and I enjoy that. But if someone even doesn't, I think it's very essential that you continue growing and experimenting. Otherwise, you're going to be, again, as I said, left behind, and no one wants that.
You are so right with the experiment, try, learn, remaining open. When Christa said, I live my life by product management. That's it. Thank you both for sharing. It's also my go-to handbook for raising my kid. The way it's like prioritization, focusing on the right thing. Yeah. How did that come with you, Rosheen? It's one of the beautiful things about, I think, the environment that is created at SAIT specifically for this purpose is the wraparound supports, right? The career services, them getting to know you, helping you craft the first version of your resume that speaks to who you are as a human, what you value, and also the great opportunity of what it would be like to have you working for them as an organization. I think and then again, access to now for our students, membership with the city, which is the Careers in Tech and Innovation community. So it's like from day one, we build the community with the group, and then network, as you all pointed out, is incredibly key. I've learned this firsthand just very recently, even just going through application processes, even for myself, understanding again the power of the internal referral, getting the job, and how even simple things. I was talking to a recruiter at an event, and I voiced again our concerns around we have very talented people applying and they're not getting a callback at all, even for an interview. Like, where are we going wrong? And she's make sure there's a cover letter. Try if you can to connect with the person on LinkedIn that is doing the hiring, and try to connect, and not just connect with them, but get to know them if possible. Can you ask them about the role and set up some time where you can meet with them? And in Calgary specifically, I know we've always fashioned ourselves as being what we call like a coffee culture. We have too many people living here now. That would have been true, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, but I think now we have to get more creative as to how we can find the next iteration of that coffee culture. How can we go to online communities to connect with folks that have a domain of expertise in where we want to go, and then ask them to connect us with the next person that might be the most interesting move for our career. I think things are shifting in how we do that, and great work being done at City to open those doors for folks in all roles in technology adjacent to product and beyond,
what that can do for us in our strategy and finding work, I think is limitless.
And I think like related to that, we do have a question from Rick, it looks like this last part of your question was cut off. Do you mind sharing the last part? And we'll start with this. Just thank you for sharing your incredible journey with us. I'm from India, living in Calgary, transitioning my career into IT. My background was teaching and in customer service. I've obtained 6 high demanding certifications here, 5-week work experience at Toronto Transportation. Currently studying data analyst for Lighthouse Labs. I'm applying for entry-level jobs in 5 months, not getting any calls. My question is, where am I? I'm going to assume.
What am I missing?
What am I missing? Yeah, Mônica, Rosheen, what are your thoughts? What might be happening here?
Network. Yeah. I think a lot of people, what they don't realize, and I'm not assuming Rika is doing this, but I think a lot of people don't realize that in Canada, not only does network work, but that long-term network works. So if you have those long-term relationships with people and someone can say, I've seen Rosheen grow, right? And I've seen Rosheen do this. When they can speak to you, if someone is just saying, oh, this person reached out to me and I think you should just interview her, that doesn't give too much confidence to the employer to take that interview with you. So building those relationships is extremely important. And I think that means staying relevant and showing up. So a lot of what I did was I networked, but also showed up at a lot of events. I just showed up anywhere and everywhere where it was possible for me to show up. And what happens now is a year ago, I didn't know anyone at these events. What happens now is I walk in and I see 10 people I know, and I'm just like having these conversations from the start till the end. And sometimes they don't even end then. And we set up coffee chats and we're just like having those conversations outside those events. And then a lot, again, as I have to reiterate this, that a lot of my opportunities for interviews, even if I didn't get the job, most of them, at least I would say 90% of my job interviews came from references. So I think it's network.
Yeah. To me, it's the same answer, but I'll try and split it into a twofold answer here, where what you really want with doing networking is that you want people to say your name in a room when you're not in it. You want people to advocate and say, this person is the person for it. And you only get that if people, one, know who you are, know what you do, and know that you're looking. Right? So when you're networking, yes, you're trying to make connections, you're trying to make friends and that, but they need to know those 3 things really well. And the other part of that, more specifically to her situation, which sounds like she's a junior trying to get into it, a lot of the junior positions don't get posted because they get filled before they even get to that point, right? Because the conversation starts, let's say I'm the manager of a team and I start seeing that my team is overloaded with too much work. And hey, I need a junior so that they can do more of the back office stuff so that the seniors can be more strategic about their time, right? And then one of them says, oh, my neighbor's daughter just finished graduating in a course for that. You should talk to her. And then they talk to her. They like her personality because that's really a lot of what they're looking for in a junior is the eagerness, the ability to learn and yada, yada. They talk to that one person and they hire her. That was my case. I wasn't the neighbor of someone, but Sarah knew my name, knew who I was, and knew what I was looking for. Somebody reached out to her. She thought of my name. She advocated for me, saying I was the person. I got the interview. I was the only person that got interviewed, and I got the job. So it's a twofold of why you need to be networking and how to network.
Oh, Mônica and Rosheen, thank you for that, because I think it's just get out there. And the way that you two framed that, I think we're going to cut that out, scream it from the mountaintops, and just to explain like why sometimes these things, like I know people feel so like down on themselves, like, why is this working? Why can't I get through? And it has nothing to do with you. Most of the times when you're not getting calls back, like Mônica sharing that it's mostly junior roles are mostly just filled by whoever is known. So please, people, do not take these things personally. And I'm going to share as well, like Ray had also a second part of that question was, is it not a good idea to change career after a huge career gap?
I can speak to that.
Yeah, Rosheen.
I can speak to that. I think because I had kids and I took a huge career gap in between. And so I think that is something that I always had in my mind as well. And then the fact that I was pivoting my career, I had zero technical background. I was in a new country. So I was building a network and I had a huge career. All of these things combined always had me thinking, am I doing the right thing? Should I just go back to things that I know, like I've done before? Because I was getting those calls. When I applied, I would get calls for those roles. And they're not bad roles. They're really good roles, but they're just not where I wanted. So that is something that is, I feel like, deep myth that you can't make your way. It just, again, comes down to one that Mônica said, the market at the moment is horrible. Someone told me this year that if anything that happens in this year, just don't take it personally. It's not you, it's the market. The second thing is, I think it's just getting out there and persevering. And then I saw that she wrote that she had a customer service role previous, as well as a background in education. What I learned, and I have a background in education too, is that people here consider background in education very differently from people in South Asia. And I saw that she was from India, which is why I'm specifically speaking to her about this, is that it's very different. Your education background means that you can talk to people and you can deliver content. So now you can get into roles such as client success and you can leverage what you've learned. So you just need to be confident and figure out what are those transferable skills. You can do anything. Mônica was a gymnastic coach. You can do anything and you can transfer those skills into the role that you want to get into. So have that confidence. So even if you're networking and you don't have that confidence, it's not going to make much of a difference. You have to have that confidence when you speak about yourself, that I am this, I relate to myself as a product manager, as a data analyst. And these are the skills that I had previously. And this is where I showcased that I have achieved something. Yeah.
Okay, we've got one more question. We're down to 5 minutes left in our LinkedIn Live. How do you recommend networking for remote roles? I know the value of in-person interaction is I want to make those same kinds of connections for remote positions. Any recommendations here?
I think it doesn't matter if it's remote or in person. I think that this is definitely something that's shifted during COVID. Every single role that I've been looking at for remote work, it doesn't have remote networking opportunities. It's still very much cultivated by, again, that connection within the community that I forged. I'll give you an example of one, a remote organization out west. Renee knew somebody that she used to work with in that organization. And so she connected me with her. And then before we knew it, I was exchanging information and she connected me with the next person in the organization that allowed things to move forward. And that's 100% pure remote organization. So I would say the networking events, and if you're watching this and you're in Alberta, we have a population that supports, if you go to one event a week, you will literally meet everyone in the tech community within 6 months. It is possible. It is so possible through events like Tech Thursdays, the city events that are going on, through the Toast community. There is so much happening here. And if you hang out outside a platform for a week, you probably could cut that down to maybe months. So there are a lot of free events that are happening between like Calgary and Edmonton. Some of them are hybrid, but I will tell you, I'm seeing the appetite tick up for in-person again, for sure. And if you dedicate a certain amount of time to it, a certain amount of weeks, and go to one a week, I promise you, you will have access to meet people in person that you never would know or meet online through like communities such as LinkedIn. You can connect with them in person. So that's really important when we talk about knowing the person that knows the next person that's going to get you the job. It's really that chain of events that you're trying to create. So the more people you know and are doing that in very practical ways, you're shortening that time to something happening. So it is really tactical. Get out there if you can in person, meet as many people as you can, connect with them on LinkedIn, You see a role that's posted on LinkedIn, don't apply through LinkedIn. Don't bother. If you see that 10,000 people have applied for it, ignore that. That's not real either. Okay. Go right to trying to find the person that is connected with that role on LinkedIn, connect with them, try to talk to them, try to get that resume passed either through their website or through them personally. That is the chain of events that you're trying to create for any role, either in person or remote. And this is just my opinion. You all feel free to jump on here, but that's just been what I've seen recently.
No, true, Christa. I completely agree with you. And I got the 2 roles that I've gotten in tech, both have been remote. And both roles I've gotten through the communities that I've joined. So one was through Toast and one was hosted on careers in technology and innovation. So I don't think it's very hard as long as you're showing up in those places and you're part of those organizations and those communities. Again, it all comes down to your network. I don't think there's specifically a huge difference between finding a remote role or in person, honestly speaking. But both my roles were remote and I got them both through the networks that I was part of.
I think that I made a post this week that talks about two concepts in the environment of networking. One was the 6 degrees of separation, which Christa kind of touched upon, which is there's only 6 people until you can reach the entirety of the population of the world. And since tech is really small in Calgary, if you start going pretty often to events, very soon you'll have reached the entirety of the tech community in Calgary, which then also expands to outside of Calgary inevitably. And the other thing was the strength of weak ties, which Christa even exampled as well. That Renee knew someone who knew someone, and then it got that connection. So you never know where your network can take you. And that's the beauty of networking. So just showing up, and I actually have a pretty funny story quickly here that I've been going quite often. I'm trying to build a brand and know a lot of people, and it's part of my job, right? So I go very often to these events. I went on a hiking a few weeks ago with a group of friends. We went really early in the morning on a Saturday. We were the only people in that hike. It was snowing, so it wasn't the greatest, but as we were walking out of the hike in the middle of nowhere, 2-hour drives to get to it, a new group was coming in.
Was it Brenda's group?
Huh?
Was it Brenda's group?
No, I had random friends. 2 people from the group come in and was like, Mónica? I was like, there's no way. There is no way that people know me here. So just showing up and having your face being there and obviously meeting people and connecting, that will very quickly blow up.
And I know we're running out of time here, but one other thing that I want to add is when you know what you want and it's a remote role, make sure that others around you know it. That's very specific to you landing where you want to land. Because if you are sure about what you want, get those requirements, talk about those requirements when you're talking to anyone. Talk to people about what you want and where you want. I think just be very clear on what you want.
Yes, thank you both. I think we're a little bit over, but I do just want to answer because there's one more question. I'll do it super quick. Any advice for those who are interested in networking but struggle with shyness?
It might be a little bit of a shameless plug here, but I have my own company called Let's Tech. The whole focus is hosting events for networking for people in tech. And is no panels, no presentations, just fun activities, really small groups. I never want to get the events to bigger than 20 people because I know that networking is something really scary for a lot of people, that they go to those events, it's really loud rooms, that they don't know how to approach someone, they don't know how to find something in common. So I'm trying to bridge that gap, helping people is just, hey, we're going to do some fun activity that everybody has a similar idea that they like that. And that starts the conversation. In January, we're going to go play billiards. So if you're interested, take a look, letstechalberta.com.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, both of you. This is so helpful to folks. And I think the main takeaway is like, it's a tough market, but it's still possible. And I think when you hear about tough markets, don't let this put your dreams on hold. Because it is possible, like even within our program, we still have our really higher rates. It's just taking a little longer. That's it. Folks, you can do it. Don't put your dreams on hold, okay? Because just listen to Mônica and Rosheen, persevered, made it happen, stayed open, and y'all belong here. Y'all belong in tech and product. Thank you both so much. Yes. Are there any last words, Rosheen, you'd like to share before we close out?
Just that stay confident. Honestly, it's just, you will have those moments when whether you've done the course, you've done the boot camp, or you're just moving on your own, there will be moments where you'll have those lapses of confidence and feel like you're not getting anywhere in life. But those are the moments where you need to pick yourself up, and talking to the right people helps. But also those are the moments where you need to start thinking about opening yourself up to other opportunities that could technically take you to that same place eventually. But then you're starting off with something a little different. But again, keep that goal in mind. So when you're opening yourself up to opportunities, you have that goal in mind. It brings those right opportunities to you. So stay confident, persevere, and be resilient. It's not you, it's the market at the moment. But if you have it in you, people will see it as long as you let them see your authentic and true self.
That was beautiful. My last few words are to try and get you guys excited about the course here, because I actually think that this was the most pivotal course that I've ever taken in my life. And I recommend to everyone, even if product is something that you're not necessarily sure, again, because of the community that they're building. I learned a lot technically as well, not to take that away from them, but these two women here are trailblazers, and they will change your life if you allow them to.
You change our lives. It's
as well. Yeah.
It's really full circle. Thank you both so much. Thank you to our folks online who joined us. This was such a blast. We'll see you in a couple weeks. We're going to have another LinkedIn Live before the end of the year. Mônica, Rosheen, we cannot thank you enough.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, rate and review this podcast, and you might find your review in a future episode. Please subscribe to Product for Humans wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. To get more information about Product for Humans and our content, please visit our website at tacit-edge.com, tacit-edge.com. We'll see you next time. Okay? Should we do it one more time?
Sweet. Yeah, let's do it.